Bienvenidos to this week's Tarot Talk. I'm Auri Solares, and we are entering into the official beginning of the first eclipse season of 2026. This is the week of the solar eclipse in Aquarius, with the new moon happening on Tuesday the 17th. Before we dive into this Tarot Talk, I would like to encourage you to grab some tea, grab a snack, get really comfortable. This is going to be one to really be in a comforting, safe environment for, just because the nature of these transits are going to be pretty intense. With this eclipse happening co-present Mars and Pluto, it's going to go that way. And so I just want to give you a second to get ready and prepare. Nothing to be afraid of. Fear is the mind's killer, but I also don't want to give your nervous system a shock. I want to be very honest about the fact that this week is going to be pretty disruptive, and it's important more than ever to regulate ourselves in these times. We start off on Sunday the 15th with the Sun in Aquarius making a square to Uranus and Tauro. This is the culminating moment of this square. These two planets have been in this dynamic ever since the Sun ingress into Aquarius, and Uranus is on its departure out of Tauro into Gemini. It's at 27 degrees. It just station directs last week, and this is a moment where our center of gravity is absolutely being shifted and shaken up. There is a disruption that we are feeling in our sense of structure in our day-to-day, in our systems, both in our personal lives and in our communities out in the world, that are due to new information coming our way. Whether this information is due to technological innovations or due to something just really powerful and dark coming to light that changes our entire sense of center, our point of gravity about what our lives mean in this greater scheme of reality. This is a moment where something really comes to a point, and we are being asked to expand into the unknown. This is Sun in Aquarius. It loves to do that. And although the Sun is in its fall in Aquarius, it can benefit from really venturing into new horizons in search of its light. And this is ideally in the name of the greater good, in the name of the growth of our own selves, but also of our communities and the collective. Let this tension, let this moment of disruption bring forward a new sense of responsibility of your role in your community and with others. How can you show up in a way that is innovative and inspiring for those that are around you, and even for yourself? Surprise yourself. Allow for that to happen by doing something new and different, because everything is sort of just getting tossed out the window. Whatever sense of normalcy we thought existed is long gone, and anything goes. And yes, that is very dysregulating, that is very disorienting, and it is propelling us to try something new in the name of showing up as your most actualized self. I want to go ahead and say that the general advice for eclipse season is to not start really new or important ventures, to not force something, to be really mindful and careful in how you move, because the energies are so sporadic and unpredictable and have the capacity to really change your life, for better or for worse, right? Eclipses are not always negative. They're not usually positive. It's just sort of how it falls in your chart. So you want to be really mindful of what actions you are taking at this time. It's an eclipse. It is when the hand of the divine, the hand of God, or the hand of the cosmos reaches down into the earth and moves the chess pieces around that maybe you so carefully strategized to have in a certain way to make sure that certain moves would happen in the future. And the divine says, I'm gonna throw this for a loop. So just keep that in mind. The moon is already in Aquarius on Sunday as well, meaning that this eclipse is already getting the ball rolling. Pay attention to what it is that is happening from Sunday all the way into the rest of this eclipse season, because it's going to be very relevant. And with this square to Uranus, we're being asked to find new stability in shifting foundations. And that can be hard. That can be really difficult. But there are things that we can do to prepare for that. For example, here in Texas, the earth is very shifty. It's clay. And so you growing up in Texas see people take certain measures to preserve the foundation of a home. And when people move from other states down here and they buy a property, they don't realize you should probably make sure that you are watering the perimeter of your home so that the foundation doesn't shift drastically and cause cracks inside your house, on doorways and in hallways. It's a very visible shift that you can see, but you wouldn't know that unless you'd spoken with a neighbor or done the research to try to gather that information. But you take those steps to prepare for the inevitably shifting foundations of the structure. And depending on the land and the techniques, there's only so much you can do. But also, again, there are things that you can do to take that into effect and know, okay, this is going to happen. How can I not be shocked by it when it does? That's just a little bit of an example there. Then on Monday, totally different vibe. Mercury in Pisces is making a trine to Jupiter in Cancer. We are feeling a lot right now. The collective is basically being blasted with spiritual warfare, all the way from ICE raids to disgusting Epstein files to war to the ongoing genocide in Gaza and Palestine to all of these things. It's just a lot. And that is resulting in us connecting to our compassion so much more, to speaking to things in a more empathetic and intuitive way through this crisis that humanity finds itself in. We are reconnecting with our capacity to be in community. Jupiter in Cancer is exalted, and it rules, of course, an abundance in our emotions, in our familial life, but also in those that we regard as family. And Mercury in Pisces is in its fall and is also very innovative, very connected to the imaginal realms, to the unseen. With these two planets in a trine, we have the capacity to create a healing elixir, if you will, for the soul, and how we exchange ideas and how we communicate with each other. That is what this present moment is asking of us. Whatever hostilities we had with a neighbor, with certain group of people, with, what have you, there's no room for that here as we are birthing in a new reality. And Mercury in Pisces training Jupiter in Cancer is saying, what is it that we can lean into with an abundance that can help us grow and nurture ourselves and our communities as we move forward with everything that has happened? Because when things are so bleak and so heavy and so dark, we need this. We need the words of sweetness. We need the words of inspiration. We need that hope for the future. And it's there. That beautiful future that we dream of is there, and we have to keep dreaming it. As the old systems are getting obliterated and falling away into dissolution, we then have the responsibility to bring from our imagination the world and the earth that we so very much want to live in, one where everyone has nutritious, healthy food available. Everybody has a home. People treat each other with respect and clarity and kindness, where we spend our days doing what we love instead of slaving away at some random corporate job whose entire mission is to create waste on the planet to sell the consumer a product that they don't really need. We need to imagine the future that we want, not just for ourselves, but for the world at large, for the animals, for the planet, and speak to it, speak about it with each other. And no matter how imaginal or fantastical your visions of the future might be, I know mine are really beautiful and sparkly and very fruitiger aesthetic. We can say, okay, we're not there yet, but what is one thing about these ideas that we're exchanging with each other that we can start to practice now? Even if it's just the essence of it, doesn't have to look identical to that. We are taking the steps to get there. And I think that this influence will really support us in exchanging those ideas of what reality could look like on this planet that is starkly different from what it has been. We are changing our entire mission as humans from slaving away at a job to working on expanding our consciousness, our literacy, for not just what has happened on Earth so that we can learn from it and grow from it, but also about our magic. It's time to stop pretending that magic is not real. Magic is real. It's real. And when we incorporate that into our day-to-day, we will really see an advancement in technology, in our education systems, in our supply chain systems, in how we navigate the structure of our days. It's what we need to do now. Magic is real. The divine is real. It is all around. Whatever cosmology you choose to adopt, if you're an atheist and you're like, that's too much for me, I don't know if I believe in that. Okay, then experiment with what it is that you believe in that will be constructive for this new earth that we are calling in, because I'm 100% positive that the general citizen of this earth does not want the reality that is currently taking place here. We outnumber the amount of people that are content with how things are going. Most humans don't want this. Most humans want animals to live healthy lives, want humans to all have healthy, free lives, a world without borders, a world without war. What does that look like if magic is too much for you to lean into? Why is it so offensive that magic should be real? Challenge that, sit with that. Tuesday, we have the eclipse. Before we get to Tuesday, on the 16th, the moon also does conjoin Mars in Aquarius, but I will speak about it in full here now that we are at the official eclipse moment happening at 28 degrees of Aquarius. You've got 28 degrees of the fixed signs, Aquarius, Tauro, Leo, Scorpio. You will feel this very acutely. This is a moment in time to be very mindful about how you move, especially if it falls in your first house or if it is aspecting your first house, which it is if you have prominent placements in those fixed signs. Be very mindful about what you are embarking on. This is not a moment to just pause your life and hide in the shadows. That's impossible. We cannot do that. But be prepared, just in the event that, anything can happen, because anything can happen. Something's got to give with this eclipse. It is, as I've already mentioned, co-present with Pluto and Mars, of course, the Sun. It has sextiled Saturn and Neptune in Aries on that 15th. It conjoined Mars on the 16th. And during this eclipse, Luna is also making a square to Uranus and Tauro, which we've already discussed. On Sunday, the Sun made that square to Uranus and Tauro, and now it's the eclipse, and Luna is doing the same thing. Don't play around with this lunation. This is a serious lunation. This is not one to just, go out on the town and drink a lot, especially if, you know that you shouldn't be. Don't do it. Please. Oh my God. Don't do anything reckless. Lean into a routine that can, as much as possible, enhance stability for you, enhance a sense of well-being for yourself that encourages an emotionally regulated sense of being, a calm state, because there's already enough happening out in the world for you to add your own hot sauce to it. It's spicy enough as it is. It's very intense. It's going to be life-changing. And this might not land this intense for every single person, but Uranus, Saturn, Mars are all involved. They're all aspecting this lunation. And it's happening at the final degrees of Aquarius. Systems will collapse and new ones are being birthed as our consciousness is going through a renaissance. That does not come without noise. That does not come without violence and death, as we've already been seeing. And it's going to have an element of surprise and shock waves rippling through it because of that square to Uranus. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's not that. I hope that it isn't this catastrophic, but it's not going to be a lovey-dovey influence where the governmental bodies are all holding hands and saying, we declare peace on earth. It's not that. What do you do when you enter shock? How do you respond in moments where you are in shock? What do you need? Who do you like to have around you? Family member, friend? Do you have the resources that you need? Just say, I'm going to take a breather. How do you calm yourself at the end of a long day? If maybe it's Tuesday. I think most people will be at work when this eclipse is exact. And when you get home, what do you do to calm yourself? I would encourage that this be a day where you aren't online. Don't watch a bunch of media or TV to distract. Take a hot shower, stretch your body, do some qigong, do some yoga, eat a nourishing meal, do light activity. As someone who got really injured during the last eclipses back in 2025, this is why I'm really leaning into the physical activity of it all. So it's happening on Tuesday. And again, don't be afraid. Just be prepared. Just know that this is going to be one of those weeks where you shouldn't be surprised if things feel like they are wiry and buzzing with electricity that feels a bit too intense. It's going to be on us to be there for each other, to be there for ourselves, to be there for the earth. And I mean, if you're not someone who meditates often, this could be a good week to just experiment with a meditative practice, whether that's going on a walk or just 15 minutes of your day. That's probably what I'm going to do. And I'm not very good at meditating sometimes, but I'm absolutely going going to use this eclipse season as a meditative practice for myself, because just with the way that it's looking, I think that why wouldn't I want to take that extra step to support myself in this moment? Also on Tuesday, Venus in Pisces will conjoin the North Node in Pisces, which would otherwise be a very lovely and important influence. But because the North Node is still in Pisces, this actually feels a little bit like women and queer folk and more of these Venusian themes are being swept into the eclipse story. And there might also be this element of really wanting to detach. There's like a beauty in going out of body sometimes because it protects us. But the ask is not to go out of body right now. Be in your senses. Account for your 5 senses, your 6th sense, I would say as well. Tuesday is charged, and even though this is when the eclipse officially took place, with Luna having ingressed into Aquarius on Sunday the 15th, the story was already building. So just again, really pay attention to what happens on Sunday. The eclipse story has likely already been unfolding since the week prior. The general time frame is that the eclipses start a week before the official date and a week after. That's the timeline for a story to unfold. And you might recognize that certain things that have been taking place, certain conversations or certain experiences are just escalating. So that's Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the sun goes into Pisces, where Venus is currently at, and the North Node, and Mercury. So there is a heightened, more emotionally attuned energy within all of us at this time. That is what is being shined a light on. We are more intuitive, more psychically inclined, more compassionate. And Jupiter is in Cancer, trining the house of Pisces. So this could be a season of possible more gentler waters for the soul and for the spirit, and leaning into what we can create to bring forward more beauty at this time. It is on us to create that beauty. It is on us to create that magic for ourselves and for each other to enjoy, to come together with music and dance and exploration. Pisces is so happy to build something new and something different from its dreams, from its imagination. That is what we need right now. It is exactly what we need. So on Wednesday, happy birthday to all Pisces. Sun is officially in your house. Friday the 20th, Saturn in Aries conjoins Neptune in Aries at 0 degrees. And this is a exclamation point on the fact that old systems are dissolving and new ones are needing to be birthed from the fires of the anger and rage of the many that have been oppressed and having violent acts committed upon in the name of benefiting the few. This is a moment to have fiery boundaries as the old is dissolving and we are bringing about the new. Saturn in Aries is in its fall, just ingressed here. Neptune here idealizes a fight, a good fight. This can be a good fight if we use this transit in this way. This could be just overall a day where there is something within our systems, our structures, our institutions and governmental bodies, both on a personal level and on a external level, where there is a sense of something either being overly idealized, an element of confusion sweeping in, perhaps something dissolving, and boundaries shifting. You know, when you think of maybe like fire and how it flows, now think of a wall of fire and it's fixed, but it's changing. On a personal level, this might be a bit subtle, or it could be really pronounced if you have prominent cardinal placements. As someone who has their moon at 1 degree of Aries, this is going to be interesting, but we've been here. We were here last summer. This is not actually going to be a new influence. We've already felt it. So actually, if something from last year, last summer in specific, is coming up again, this is this conjunction activating it. So maybe reflect back on what was happening last summer when this conjunction took place that I might be revisiting again. Am I being asked to step into a leadership role, and that's confusing my sense of self? Is my home needing to be restructured entirely in a way where my ideals for it are a little bit more action oriented or productive oriented? Are my relationships facing a moment of discerning what is real and what isn't real in the name of building something long lasting with a passion that is underlying it? Or is there more of an aggression coming through? Or is there more anger that's coming through? And I say that because, of course, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars can represent what is heated and what is angry and what is aggressive. And with Mars still in Aquarius, this is all in a sextile to it by a whole sign house. So there is a little bit of reciprocity there between the planets, but ultimately, this feels like a conjunction that if we work with it in a certain way, it can be illuminating for what in our own life needs to be restructured and what systems need to be done away with entirely to give birth to something that actually works, because systems are integral. We need them in how we are existing in this current day in our society, but we can acknowledge that the systems that are in place are not working anymore. We need something new. So what is this idealized new version of what we're yearning for on this planet Earth, and how do we bring it forward while the old ones collapse? And that's not going to be a silent process. It's going to be its whole fiery thing. So maybe it's time to set fire to those things. So wherever it is that you find yourself with these energies, know that something new is wanting to come into place. And it's going to be rocky. And we're still in the eclipse window. It has officially just started. It's just begun. We don't have an eclipse this next week, but we do the following week. And so just pay attention to what wants to arise. It may not even all happen immediately or at once. A lot can happen behind the scenes. Just really depends on how it falls in your chart. If you're ever curious about what an eclipse season will look like for you, if you want more insight about how these planets and these influences will interact, I do offer one-on-one consultations at audisolaris.net, and we can connect further and talk stars. What wants to be brought up in this eclipse story naturally for you will be unavoidable, but don't go adding anything extra to it. That is my advice for you. And now we're going to draw a card to see what it is that wants to support us in this journey. We have the Ace of Cups, and Ace of Cups comes forward to us like heavenly medicine. It is that healing elixir that I spoke to from Mercury's trine to Jupiter on Monday. This is a really charged and fiery and electric week. And what is the soothing balm that we can apply to it for ourselves is that connecting with a friend and having a conversation with them throughout this moment to show that you are there for each other. Is that genuinely just drinking more water? Is that working on a creative project or venture that allows for you to transmute and alchemize your feelings of possible worry or fear into something beautiful and creative for yourself or for others? Lean into the Pisces and Cancer sections of your chart to find where you can rest a little bit more easily in this moment where our Taurus and Aquarius and Aries houses are so electrified and so lit up. The Ace of Cups is a card that presents to us hope. It is hope. We have a bird or a dove at the top of the card interacting directly with the abundance of this chalice. And it is overflowing. It is pouring. So in this moment, if you feel like you need to have a release of emotions, if you feel like you need to cry, crying is so sacred. Please cry. And also know that your tears are powerful. And you can be there for others when you sit with your own emotions, and we can pour into each other's cups because we have an endless amount of energy to give to others when we are in that sort of relationship and dynamic of supporting each other. This is a card to really sit with your dreams and your intuition. If you've been getting an intuitive hit that it's time to do something new or something different, to start a new venture, a new project, listen to it, sit with it, process it. The Ace of Cups, it's wanting to hydrate us. It's wanting to hydrate our spirits and our souls. It really feels like it's Jupiter in Cancer's hand, and the little dove is Mercury. And Mercury is taking the messages of Jupiter and saying, okay, I'm going to go and spread this to everybody's chalice now. And we can find some level of stability or peace within ourselves, within our emotional realms, in the face of chaos all around. If what my delineations have been are true, then it might feel that way. But use the Ace of Cups as a reminder that nurturing yourselves, being compassionate for ourselves and others is exactly the medicine that we need at this time. Be attuned to your sensitivity. It is not a negative thing to be sensitive. I love being hypersensitive. And as an extremely sensitive individual, that allows me to show up to conversations and to situations with such a higher level of discernment and attunement for what is needed at that time, and also what kind of boundaries I need to set up for myself, because I can sense what the atmosphere is. And so if you're also highly sensitive, then it's very likely that at this time you're already practicing the things that you need to make sure that your garden is watered. And then how can you also encourage that or share those tools and those skills with those that are around you? I love that we got this very refreshing card in an otherwise tumultuous week. That is really what the energies are for this week. I will not sugarcoat it for you. And this is not at all to scare you. It is to prepare you. And again, there's nothing to fear. I like to present an element of productive energy to each of the delineations that I offer, acknowledging that the reality of them is likely going to be pretty intense or heavy, and presenting then possible opportunities to work with them given what they are bringing to our doorstep. So I hope that this has made sense. I hope that this has been helpful. Please feel free to share how you are experiencing this moment in time. Happy first eclipse season of 2026. If I can say that, we are here. We will make it through. And the best way to do it is in community, is in communion with the heavenly realms and the earth energies and the animal kingdom, and to really connect with nature and connect with the divine at this time, whatever your definition for the divine is. My definition of the divine is as simple as seeing a possum crawling on the tree. That for me is a message from the divine. What does it mean for you? As we go into Pisces season, that can be something that maybe you are in deeper connection with. But I will leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. And until then, as always, I'm sending you so much magia, mucho amor, and as always, cuídense.